Welcome to a very new year. I think, as the title in the description says, that we're going to be talking about a 12-week year, which is basically just a new method of setting goals for the year and achieving more in less time. I'm going to be breaking down what I've actually discovered and how I stumbled upon everything. So, yeah, if you're interested in leveling up your year, I think this is the perfect video for you. And yeah, let's get right into it. All right. So for those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Leonard. My surname is Libere. And as you can probably see from this video that I'm a South African YouTuber. And yeah, I think what the channel is going to be dealing with, I'm still deciding whether it's just going to be productivity, it's going to be personal development and or leadership. I think all those things are pretty much what I am going to be deciding on. But today, I think I wanted to take a bit of time just to speak about, like a very new discovery. I discovered a very new book. The book is called The 12-Week Year, and I'll put it up right here. And yeah, so I discovered this book last year, September 2022. And I think this book came about after just the frustration of realizing that, I have been setting goals from age 12. Every single year, I've reviewed my year and I've set new goals for the following year. But the challenge, which is what I've been battling with, I think, for the past 3 years, is how come whenever we set annual goals, right, some of them get achieved and then the others do not get achieved? And I think in my quest of answering this question, it so happened that this book came about at the right time because, I mean, between September and December, that's generally the time where I would initiate my reflection and start to set goals for the following year. So if you think about it, it's like I'm asking myself this question of how is it possible that whenever I set 12 months goals in the first 3 months, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of activity, and then in the latter 6 months, this is now between March, the end of March, so April, to about September, October, then there's almost like a lackluster attitude towards it. And I think in answering this question, the book became the answer to that. And Brian Moran, who's the author of the book, they basically just speak about this idea of condensing your planning into 12 weeks. Look, obviously, I'm not saying that your life is 12 weeks, but it's more about thinking about an entire year as just being 12 weeks. So instead of thinking of 12 months, you're thinking of 12 weeks. And what this does is that it really pushes you into activity. Now, obviously, I think there are a lot of YouTubers that have done, I think, similar videos in terms of how they plan to level up the year in 2023. But as someone who's been setting goals for quite a long time, I think it's very easy to tell when, someone has not really thought certain goals through. So I think in this video or in the series that I wanted to present to you and just share my journey in terms of reading the book and discovering, I think I want to give a very bold perspective, something that's very well thought out, something that has proper due diligence in terms of planning, something that is considerate of people's environments, people's contexts, especially in just the level of growth. So yeah, I think we'll be able to dive right into it. I'm going to share my screen so that I can try to break it down to you guys. All right, I want a whiteboard. Okay. All right. I think before we go to the whiteboard, let's quickly just go to the book. Right. Okay. So hold shift to select multiple. Okay, it's fine. All right. Okay, so this is basically the book, as you guys can see from here. Yeah, you can see I'm a very active reader, but I just want to share a couple of things with you guys about the book. Right, so as I said, the title of the book is 12-Week Year, Get More Done in 12 Weeks Than Others Do in 12 Months. And it's by Brian Moran and Michael Lennington. All right. So obviously it's got just a very interesting breakdown. I am still at part 1, reading a lot of it just to try and understand. I'm reading as slow as I can. It's probably one of the slowest books that I'm reading, but I'm reading slow because I'm thinking about implementing this not just for this year, but I want this to become something that I can implement for about 20, 30 years, because I mean, if setting annualized goals has failed, then surely trying out this new method should be something that helps me out. So yeah, we'll get right into it. All right, so chapter 1 is obviously the challenge. If you guys end up getting the book, it's been very difficult to get the book because it was printed in 2013 and a lot of suppliers are out of stock. So I had to settle for just getting a soft copy, which is not really my favorite. I mean, I have a ton of books. I think I'll show you guys in some videos to come. So yeah, so chapter 1 is basically just that. And I think I just want to go and share some, like a couple of notes from here, if I can. Okay, that's not today. All right. Okay, so I think the more interesting thing is, like how it speaks about in the book, we will show you how to increase your current results by 4 times or more in a very short period of time, and you will learn exactly how to do it and what it takes to perform at your best every single day. So these are just the whole ideas that I think I kind of got excited about when I thought about the book, when I thought about just its context and everything. But I'll do that. I'll share the chapter to chapter reviews in the separate book. But as you guys can see, I'm pretty much an active reader. Okay, things you know, and then redefining the year. I think this was a very critical thing in understanding that the 12-week journey is basically discarding the whole idea of that 1 year has 12 months. So it basically kind of makes time relative. It makes time what you make it as, right? So if 1 year to you is 6 months, then that's great. But in this context, what I'm pushing for is just understanding how can I achieve more in 12 weeks. And 12 weeks is basically just like a quarter, which is a short enough sprint to keep you active, but it's also long enough to accomplish a lot of things in between. Right, so it just speaks about redefining the year, discarding annualized thinking. That's a strong part of it. Periodization, which is a very interesting thing. I think I'm going to do a separate video on that. 12 weeks equal to a year and how they break that down. All right, the emotional connection. It was a very short and weird chapter. The power of planning. I think this was also something that was just quite key. And I'm only going through the book to obviously like excite people who really just want to get into the book. All right, and then from there on, you've got 12-week planning, setting goals, SMART goals, which are essential. A lot of people know about it, but very few people kind of act on it. And then 1 week at a time, breaking down how like a weekly plan actually contributes to you actually achieving your yearly plan or your 5-year plan, stuff like that. All right, confronting the truth, also a very interesting chapter, and I'm by chapter 7 right now. So I think by the time I do another video, then I'll be there by chapter 7. All right, so as we get into this, one of the key things to think about is that, the old way of thinking about this is that one year is actually equal to 12 months, right? And this is where annualized goals come from. Right? And from the annualized goals, you get stuff like, New Year's resolution, you get your, traditional goal setting. And by traditional goal setting, I mean looking at the whole year and kind of pacing a goal out to say that, yeah, by the end of December of 2023, I want to have achieved this. And this is how I'm practically going to pace myself out over the next 12 months. We're not saying that this is a bad thing. The only thing about this is that it's so easy to forget, or it's so easy to get out of touch with a very distant deadline, which is why a lot of the goals in between for me personally was very difficult to achieve because you get lost in it. I mean, January, February, March, you're in it, you're pushing, and by the time you get to like April, May, June, then it's like the motivation starts dipping. So if I had to give you guys a graph, let's kind of just put it like this. If it was a graph, it would maybe be something like that. All right, let me just do that. Okay, perfect. All right, so if this was a graph, we'd basically kind of just give it, two stuff. Let's say this is time. And on this side, you'll have your motivation. All right, so what happens is that around, right, let's say that's month 1. to about month 3, right? Okay, let's just do it like that. All right, so let's say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, let me just do that. 12. Okay, so generally what will happen is that when we start off, our motivation level is really high. So January, our motivation is about 100%. We feel like we're going to change our lives. We're going to implement new systems. We're going to tackle the weight loss thing. This is also another reason why gyms are full, right? Gyms are full. This is another reason why master classes sell out. Master classes sell out. This is why banks have, you know, a lot more money, because people are starting to save more, right? So the financial goals and everything is pretty much high. And then something happens in between, right? From month number 1 to about month number 3. So this is between March and April. And it's like the motivation kind of just goes down, right? And then what happens is that over the next 2 months, between April and about August, it plateaus, right? So now this is the part where it's winter. You know, there's less people at the gym. And so on, right? And then what happens is, again, in the last couple of months, because people get inspired by a deadline, suddenly between about October, September, then suddenly people want to get their motivations back up there. And this is now December. And then by the time they start having their yearly reflection, so by the time they do a reflection, then they pretty much just feel guilty. Ooh. You know, they feel guilty. But even in the feeling guilty, there's a very key thing that happens to people's emotions when they realize that they have an opportunity to start afresh. Then everyone will speak about how, no, the next year, they will do even better. So the next year, they'll master the 12 weeks. The next year, they'll do slightly better, and they'll pretty much achieve more than what they achieved in the previous year. But I have been through this for about 10 years straight. So when I'm speaking about the 12-week year, I'm speaking about something that has completely revolutionized the way I see planning, the way I see execution. And in that, this is actually just what I wanted to tackle in the video. All right, so bear with me quickly as I do this so that I can explain the new concept. All right, so now the new way is simply this. So the new way is that we think of 1 year to be equal to 12 weeks, right? So what that means is that we can do more in less time. And this is basically how I plan to have a very different 2023 with a lot of the goals that I have, a lot of, you know, my desires, my expansion in terms of business, which I think we'll get into as we get into the channel quite more. So this is how I plan to basically change everything. So what the 12-week year allows for is, it simply allows for this. If there are 52 weeks, right, in a year, and you have 1 year equal to 12 weeks, that means that in a normal person's year, right, in a normal person's 1 year, you would have basically had 4 cycles. of 12 weeks, which is equal to about 48 weeks. That means stuff that can take people about 3 to 4 years to complete, you would practically be in the position of completing all of that in a matter of 12 weeks. And like I said in the beginning, time is really, really, really just relative, right? So I think the highlight of everything and pretty much what I wanted to get into is the fact that we now have the power in our hands. We have the opportunity to plan. We have the opportunity to realign what we want the year to be by using a different method. Remember, the height of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So this was basically just an introduction video to what the 12-week year is, how I plan to use it. And yeah, I think as time goes, we'll be able to get a lot better in terms of breaking down concepts. I'll be able to walk you through your planning because I think I want to help a lot of people with this. I don't just want to become a preacher of it. I'll be sharing or documenting my journey as I apply a lot of these principles in my own life. And so I am really excited. I cannot wait. Unfortunately, my call to action right now is that you guys must just like the video if it speaks to you and share with me in the comments. What are the things that you'd actually like to achieve this year? And if you could use the 12-week year, what do you think is that one thing that has taken you very long to do, but you can complete it in a short amount of time? All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say thank you. I think the next video we'll be deciding on, but I want to do this as frequently as possible and kind of use YouTube as my accountability system in my journey of reading the book and achieving more in less time using the 12-week year concept. All right. Thank you very much. I think I'm late for an appointment, but I had to do this quickly. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. If you've watched this far, congratulations. I'll leave a few links in the description of the recent blogs that I've written, and then we can take it from there. All right, from my side, thank you very much and keep winning.